we talk to ourselves negatively often about different things, whether it's, you know, the things that you grew up with, your baggage, maybe your significant other in the past, or something like that. So those often in have just a negative impact to you and your self view and your self esteem as you move forward. And so the shadow work is exercising those personal demons, or unpacking the baggage and donating it to charity and getting rid of it. So that's my personal viewpoint. And for those that do a lot of energy healing or coaching, shadow work is kind of a big deal, because you can't really work on the positive aspects of self if you're not also working on the negative. And so for me, it's been very intuitive, very very intuitive, and I haven't really done a lot of studying yet. As far as the how tos and whatnots. So at some point, I will be doing a Reiki class. I'm very excited about that. I think it'll be important for my own personal development and path and whatnot. And then it's also part of the very holistic approach to healthcare in general. Because if you're not working on the things that have impacted you negatively, um, are you really working on yourself? Are you really getting rid of that negative stuff that's dragging you down? So, as you move forward, oh darn, I think I touched something. Sorry, folks, if I did. Um, anyways, shadow work often sounds scary, and it is often very deep and introspective. And so, just at the very beginning, what is it? It's a just an act of self acceptance. Basically, you're reclaiming the lost parts of yourself and reintegrating those back into your life. And by doing this integration, it enables you to move forward with your intentions, your dreams, and your goals in general. So, for example, let's say you started to recognize that you need to start taking better care of yourself. A lot of us do. Self care is hard. And in a few days, though, you find you don't have time suddenly. Maybe your kids are banging on the door, interrupting you. Your spouses or significant other, the dog is coming in and pestering you, the cat, that kind of thing. It's really hard often for us to put time aside for self care. And you start thinking that, oh, maybe I'm just being selfish because I want this time to myself. I want to do this thing on my own. And in reality, no, it's not selfish. And there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, really. Really is not a problem with taking care of yourself. It's important. If your cup is empty, there's nothing you can do for anybody else. And that's just the way of it. So, in our quest to become more likable, lovable, worthy, good enough, that kind of thing, often we forget to work on ourselves, and we put ourselves in the shadows. We don't take care of ourselves, because when we do, people are saying, well, we're being selfish. And we're really not. We really, really, really are not. Um, oh, sorry, I bumped something again. So the shadow concept, I guess, is something that was defined by Carl Jung. So if you are an adherent to the Jungian form of paganism, that's okay. It's a thing, really. Do some research. He's got a lot of great books out there. And in basically, he said that the shadow self is any aspect of ourself that includes thoughts, feelings, needs, desires, behaviors, personality traits that are unconscious. And these shadow aspects are created when we reject, repress, or deny some aspect of ourselves. And as humans, we're generally motivated by our needs. And when we perceive that an aspect of ourself poses a threat to one of our needs, often that need is for safety or love or that feeling of belonging, we push those things into the shadows. We just don't pay any attention to them. So the shadow is a desire or need for self-care often. And, as a mom, I know that focusing on my own needs is often feels very selfish to me, because I'm not taking care of my family or my children, and I'm not putting their needs before my own, which was really the way that I was brought up. Was my family is more important than self. And so in trying to be a better person and more aware of my own self, I've had to work on me. And once you do, your view and your opinion of the world around you changes a bit. You're often more vulnerable, but you're also more real in your relationships. You're not afraid to show people who you really are. And as a pagan who was in the broom closet pretty exclusively, that's been a big deal. As I've embraced myself more, I am more willing and accepting of my own paganism and allowing others to see that and to encounter it. Partially because there's a freedom of worrying about what other people think of me. I am not harmed, generally speaking, by their opinion, and instead it's a reflection of their own beliefs and their own thoughts and the shadow work that they need to do rather than what I need to do. I have more confidence to and courage to pursue my creativity and my passions. If I hadn't done some shadow work, I wouldn't be doing this show right now. Just saying. Because, by golly, this is a big deal. I am putting myself out there for the world to hear me. And if I wasn't doing this, yeah, if I hadn't done some sort of work on myself, I would be in a really bad place. Breaking unhealthy familial patterns that go back for generations, including some of the shame that's often passed down through families. And often that shame is um, unconscious or subconscious. We don't always know about it, especially those who maybe grow up in a poverty level of living or standard of living, I should say. Hmm. Excuse me, I've been just dry today. And there's that aura or that kind of that feeling that you're not good enough, and that's not really true. You are. Or maybe it's an abuse type situation. A lot of times physical abuse, domestic abuse is something that has been going on for generations. And so trying to break that pattern, you're going to have to do some sort of internal work. You often have more energy and vitality just on a daily basis once you've healed yourself from some of that resistance that's holding you back. Because, by golly, if you are saying negative things to yourself all the time, that's all you're going to hear, that's all you're going to know. And it's really hard to move forward and look at the day with like joy and happiness and like, whoop, whoop, we're good. And, and that's empowering to feel like, yes, I can do this. Um, you often have a greater sense of compassion for both yourself and others. Oh, so in YouTube chat, by the way, I've got Cameron, Juju Cakes, and Hi Duck Sauce, your first timer. Thanks for stopping by, and I think you guys have all come over here from Paranormal Portal, Brent and Don's show. And so, yeah, thanks for stopping in. And then it looks like we've got Brent and Drone Free Zone in TFR. So, hello, hello. Anyways, back to what I was doing. Once you've got a greater sense of self, you also often have a greater sense of compassion for others, too. They're very much linked. And, there's a lot more to it. So, a lot of those wounds and those things that you are carrying around, that baggage, a lot of it comes from childhood. Some of it comes later in life, especially as you you develop your relationships as you're growing up, your first love, all of that. And if the negative things you go through as you're growing up or early adult, if you just ignore them and put them off and like, oh, this didn't really matter or it wasn't that important, even though it really hurt you deep down, often it'll fester and it'll negatively impact your subconscious also. And so doing that shadow work will allow you to, let go of it and move on. Like I said, unpack your baggage and just move on with life. You don't feel quite as heavy. So, what are some of the key steps? Seriously. So, emotions are good. No emotion is bad. So, as we become more aware of our emotions, it can seem like we actually get more annoyed easily, because we're suddenly more aware of even the smallest reactions that may have gone unnoticed before, because you're really paying attention to yourself. And often by developing your awareness, especially through meditation, you're often able to identify even the smallest reaction to things. Um, so I have a question real quick in YouTube. It says, unconsciously manifests so much easier with my shadow self or negative side of self. Not quite sure what you're asking there, Juju Cakes. Mostly, if you are dealing with a lot of negativity, or have a negative talk to self, you're going to see it more often. You're going to, if you're like, oh, I'm a horrible driver, everybody's a horrible driver, all you're going to see and encounter is horrible drivers. Or if you say that I can't do anything right, and that's your mentality or your thought process, I can't do this right, I can't do that right, it's just bad, I'm such a loser, that kind of thing. Often people are going to treat you that way also. And it gets off to the point where it's normal. And so we stop paying attention to it, and because it is normal. And when you start working on your shadow self, you're suddenly more aware of that negativity that you're encountering. And so it's not so much that it's happening more often, you're just experiencing it more. Um, and or not experiencing it more, but you're just more sensitive to it. So as you are working through that negativity and letting go of it, and your thought process on it, um, you'll it becomes easier to connect with your shadow self. Yes, to let go of that negativity, but you can move on. So let's see. Next, so you basically, if you're feeling an emotion, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Why? Um, and what are you feeling? What emotion are you really feeling? Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling sadness? Are you frustrated, annoyed, that kind of thing? So stop a moment. Take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth a couple times, and wait for those answers, for yourself to answer those questions. Don't force it. Just let it come, and it may not come right away, and that's okay. Sometimes those answers need time and the right space to arise, because often it's really hard to quiet our minds in the moment. That's why some people have the best thinking in the shower. They are doing absolutely nothing else other than just in the shower with themselves, generally, and they're not distracted by technology or family or friends or TV or whatever, and so their minds are just kind of cooking along on different things, or just as you're going to sleep or just as you're waking up. So don't force answers, because they might be the wrong ones. They could be the right ones, but they're probably going to be the wrong ones. They're going to be coming from your ego rather than your soul. So soul work happens on its own timeline, absolutely not on the human timeline. So be patient with yourself and know that in time the answers will come to you. So identify the shadow. What is it? So shadow by its very nature is subconscious, and identifying it can be very, very tricky. But it's an integral part of your psyche, and because of that, it's often difficult to notice. It just is. So that makes healing often kind of difficult. So you have to be aware of an ongoing pattern of behavior in your life. Do you consistently encounter the same problems, or experience recurring feelings? And these patterns actually help to highlight that shadow that you need to work on. So, common shadow beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm unlovable. I am flawed. My feelings are not valid. I have to take care of everyone around me. Maybe because you were never really nurtured as a child. That's okay. And why can't I just be normal? I've heard that one on more than one occasion. And so that's just a shadow belief and something to work on. So, investigate with compassion. So, doing shadow work with compassion is often difficult because it's very easy to fall into the habit of blaming ourselves, or others for that thought process or that behavior and attitude. And while it's important to recognize key themes that have influenced you, particularly in childhood and growing up, you need to forgive those who may have hurt you in order to move on. So try to navigate that balance by recognizing how others' behavior may have influenced you, while understanding that they probably did the best they could and were just acting from their very own wounds that needed to heal. So, exploring the shadow. What do you need to do? Hold that thought. So, question or statement. I've heard it said in the past is created in the now, like the wake from a boat moving through the water. The wake is in the past, but it is created in the now by the movement of the boat. Yes, that's very deep, duck sauce. Oh my gosh, very deep. I like it though. That's good. Good thoughts. I might have to steal that. That's very good. So, how do you explore the shadow? Well, journaling. Journaling is a very powerful way to feel your emotions and empty your head of the thoughts just kind of rumbling around in the back of it. So get the thoughts from your head that are keeping you awake at night onto paper. It's like a magical alchemy, to be honest. And if you're not sure how to journal, just write. Write whatever comes to mind. The dog barked, the chicken crowed, I drove to work, it was a good day, that kind of thing. Whatever it is. Um, it's whatever you need to write it. That you can't journal a wrong way. You can also take some of the questions that we've already talked about. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And use those as prompts to write your journal entry to talk about what it is. Write a letter. You don't actually have to send the letter, of course, but often if you get all your feelings down on paper and explore the way or the why you feel a certain way, and you tell the person that in mind how you feel, that's a good way to validate yourself and your emotions, particularly if you grew up feeling or thinking, that your feelings were not valid. So consider burning the letter, of course, afterwards, because that's just a great symbolic release of that negativity or that negative emotion that you grew up with. Meditation is huge. I know I've talked about it often. I personally don't do it enough. I would love to do it more. I have a mini Paisley that is often my block to getting that done because, yeah, she's just a very active child. So meditation. During meditation, we often have insights about why we feel certain ways. It's possible to spontaneously heal, of course, by just feeling our emotions and accepting them. So, healing often comes in layers, kind of like an onion. You may heal a small amount now, and then you might have to come back to that same topic again later to dig into it a little bit more to heal more. So, however, sometimes people can have a very profound, deep experience just right at the get go. Um, you can try a forgiveness type of meditation. So just visualize that person in your mind's eye, especially if someone has passed already and you're not able to talk to them up front. Just say, may you be happy, may you be at peace, and may you be free of suffering. Just to let that energy go. Feel. It's okay to feel your emotions. Explore them. Write about them. Move. Go jogging. Go exercising. Do something. Make art. Experience yourself as a whole loved person and a lovable person. So the shadow, of course, thrives on secrecy and those secret thoughts and those hidden things that you hide from yourself and from others. And once you bring it out and to the light and bathe yourself in self-love, even if the process hurts, and often it will, and I'm sorry, but you have to heal, you have to pull it out. So know that it's okay, and everybody is going through the same things. And so, uh, nurturing your inner child, that's a little bit more in detailed, and we're gonna stop there because holy cow, the first half hour is just burning by. Um, yes, the past is definitely created by what we think of in the now. Yes, I would have to agree, duck sauce. Often the things that we remember, we're not actually remembering the actual event. Is what the specialists say. The people that know things. Instead, we're remembering the memory of it. So often as we age, the memory of an event has changed or been altered or skewed by what we're experiencing when we're remembering it again. So the details are often foggy, and that's why often those I witness accounts are not always accurate. So Call lines are open. That number's 213-233-3998. We're off to break, everyone. So I will see you in just a few. And thank you again for joining me here. And I appreciate your thoughts and your feedback. And yeah, hit that like button, guys. I'll be right back.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me, the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are back adventuring into the spaces between. And just to remind y'all, the call lines are open. It's 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, it's 44203-393-2871. And you are more than welcome to shoot me an email anytime at wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. So over break, got a question from the chat room asking about the Ouija boards. So Ouija boards, yeah, they are an adventure. Um, yes, you must be 8 years old before you can summon a demon. Isn't that great? And apparently it comes in pink. Um, so the actual origins of the Ouija board are kind of muddied, actually. Um, so originally, I guess, according to the Smithsonian, it came out in 1891. It was called the Ouija, the Wonderful Talking Board. It was from a Pittsburgh toy and novelty shop, described as a magical device that answered questions about the past, present, and future with marvelous accuracy, and promised never failing amusement and recreation for all the classes, etc., etc., etc. I think originally it was in wood rather than cardboard, and the planchette was, I think, wood as well originally rather than plastic like it is now. So often folks will use some sort of board when they do like pendulum work, especially. It's easier, like a yes no type thing. Um, so I think my personal interpretation of the Ouija board is that it is a standardized type of communication board specifically for spirit and energy work, often used with a planchette or some sort of device. Now, just like a pendulum. For those who don't know how to basically close the door on that energy when they're doing energy work, don't use it. You're potentially opening yourself and your home and your family to all sorts of potential negatives. Now, I'm not going to say it's always every time Ouija boards are just bad, bad, bad. I think they are, but some people use them as a tool. I know if you watch Brent and Dawn's show, there's one behind Dawn hanging on the wall. One of these days, that planchette's going to move, and any color left in his beard will fade to white. That's just about all there is to it. Um, so nobody really knows where the Ouija board actually began. You'd think that because everybody has heard of a Ouija board, just about someone would know where it came from, but it's pretty muddled. And, I don't know. It could be just a really great way a marketing tool for um, demons, for lack, or negative energy to try to control people, the masses, because everybody views it as a toy. I mean, it's a great gateway drug to going down a negative path. So just be careful. So if you use a Ouija board, cleanse yourself beforehand, cleanse yourself afterhand. Don't be afraid to cast a circle if you're going to do it. Just do your research. Make sure you're aware of the potential negative ramifications of using a Ouija board before you ever start, because sure, I or myself can come or myself or others that I know can come help you cleanse your house of that negative energy. But I would rather not do that if I don't have to. So it's a lot of work, and often often there's a rinse and repeat, and add some extra protections, and it just opens doors that are often better left closed. So on that note, we're going to move on to nurturing your inner child, which is a great segue, right? Hiya, Black Tree. So, yeah, nurturing your inner child is kind of a big thing. So, childhood traumas, the way we're parented, just different things that we experience as we're growing up can often result in deep emotional wounds that will in turn create behavior and emotional patterns that we may not even be aware of as adults because they're normal for us. That's because we don't know what we don't know. Our world is normal. Whatever it was normal to us, and it often takes a lot of effort to uncover and figure out what those unhealthy patterns are. So to us, they may be in reality, but to those around us, they're false beliefs or false and negative thought patterns. So you may have beliefs that are causing you pain that you can't even see because they're so deeply ingrained within you. And once you realize that, though, it can be very difficult to, you know, understand how much pain you've caused yourself just because of this wrong belief. And so that's where a lot of self love comes in. And so you have to learn to love yourself as you are and accept your journey, forgive yourself and those that may have caused that pain or trauma, and move on. And that really is just the crux of shadow work in general. Shedding light on things that we'd rather hide, accept it, all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, and then have the courage to move beyond it into a healthier pattern of thought, behavior, and beliefs. So, many times our childhood wounds are definitely the most painful and persistent. And these are the wounds that we say, or that tell us that we're not worthy of love, that our feelings are wrong, or that we have to take care of everything because nobody took care of anything in the past. And that's the only way to get anything taken care of. So it's a long process. It's not going to happen just overnight. I'm sorry, guys. It's going to involve some work. Um, but you'll be better for it. And really, really better for it. So, just a good way to get started though. Visit your inner child. Imagine a time that you felt the most vulnerable you could have when you were growing up. A scene that you remember, or a time in your life, and hold that image in your mind of yourself, and stay aware. Take any messages in that might arise, and that you might feel the need to interpret, and just allow it to happen. And then give that younger self, your younger you, compassion. Tell yourself, "I love you. I am here for you. It's not your fault. You did not deserve this, whatever this is. You deserve love. And you have a wonderful life ahead of you. You may even imagine giving yourself, your younger self that is, a hug. It's okay. Give them that love, that affection, those things that you didn't have when you needed them." And looking back like this, and traveling back in time to give yourself this self love is hard, but it's powerful. And it sounds hokey. Okay, I get it. I know it sounds a little hokey. It's okay. But you will feel the energy shift in self if you include this practice in your shadow work. So that inner child does need that attention and that love. And so you need to have it in your toolbox. You need to have it available to you. So meditate. So peace generally comes from loving every part of your journey, even the dark places. If you like who you are today, you know that you're the sum of all of the experiences you've had to today. So if you like you today, that means you have to accept all of that negative stuff that you may have gone through to get to this point also. It helped you become who you are. So wherever you are along the path, know that the way to peace is not ignoring the shadows, but rather shining light on even the darkest of corners so you feel love and peace emanating from every part of your soul. And once you've become aware of your shadow beliefs that are hindering you from living your life to the fullest, and you consciously change your behavior, and in doing so, you're changing life. So every time you feel something negative and some discomfort, it gives you an opportunity to investigate yourself more fully and learn more about yourself and allow you to heal on a deeper level. So that is the way to find inner peace. Inner peace. But seriously, no. It's work. It did, and don't think it isn't work. I know it sounds kind of just bizarre. No, it is a real thing. And working on yourself like this and accepting yourself, even those dark, negative places, and forgiving yourself and loving yourself, seriously, it is the way to find your inner peace and accepting yourself and loving yourself more. So, yeah. What else do we need to talk about? So, um, moving on, because, we're going to school. Minnie Paisley starts school this next week. I'm so excited. And she is so excited. Oh my gosh. Yes, very, very excited. But in open house, I had forgotten how much I don't like dealing with people in crowds. And wow, there are some parents that really loved being there because they're excited for their kids and excited to have it happen. And there were a bunch of other people there that were just didn't have that same level of joy and excitement. So, going into crowds, school season, yes, it's upon us. Football season starting, so and sports at school and such. So if you go to any of those crowded places, some thoughts on how to protect yourself from other people's negative energy because you're going to see it. I believe Brent and Dawn went to the Bigfoot Festival today, and in Spokane, which I guess they had a really good time. I got a pretty. It's Argonite. Aragonite. I don't know. It's pretty freaking awesome. It's a sphere, kind of. And anyways, I'm sure they encountered, at least in passing, some negative Nelly or negative Nancy that was there, because there's one in every crowd. There is always one. Excuse me. So, dealing with that negativity can just be quite the downer. And if you've ever been into an office meeting, that one negative person just sucks the life out of you. And what on earth are you gonna do? So, first rule: set some limits, enforce them. Seriously, um, yeah. You want people to not be negative around you. It's you can say no, don't be negative around me. So you may feel pressured to hear someone complain about life. Yep, and that happens. But you don't have to join the pity party, folks. Yeah, nope. Don't join the pity party. So you can avoid the drama by setting limits and distancing yourself when necessary. So think of it this way. If a negative person were chain smoking cigarettes, would you sit beside them all day and enjoy that secondhand smoke? Nope, you wouldn't. You would get up and leave. Seriously. So, even though they're not chain smoking around you, you have permission to get up and walk away. You don't have to stand there and take it. So, respond mindfully, though. Don't just react. So, reaction is often a thoughtless, in the moment eruption of emotion that's usually driven by your ego. And just as humans, we're more likely to react when we're disconnected from our logical mind. It's okay. And it may be just the last split second before your intuition kicks in and offers a little bit of perspective and says, no, shush, it's okay. So if you're feeling angry or flustered after dealing with a negative person, it's okay. It's just a sign that you've reacted rather than responded mindfully. So if you respond mindfully, you'll feel like you handled things with integrity and poise. But if you respond with emotion, you're going to just feel frustrated. So, bottom line, if you encounter someone with a negative attitude, don't respond by throwing it back at them. This means you, angry car drivers, don't drive angry. Don't throw insults. Don't flip birds eye. It's okay. Just keep your own dignity. Don't lower yourself to that level. The true strength is being bold enough to walk away, or in that case, drive away from that nonsense. And if you are involved in a road rage incident, let the local police department know as soon as possible. Because, yeah, that's not cool. So, introduce lighter topics of discussion. So, some people's negative attitudes are triggered by specific, seemingly harmless, innocent topics. For example, people often turn very toxic, self victimizing when they talk about their job. We hear about it all the time. No matter what they say, they'll complain about their job. and you try to respond with positive comments, often they just come back with more negativity, excuse me. So instead of talking about that, move on, find something else to talk about. Don't allow that negativity about their work become a thing. Move on and introduce a different topics like, oh well, I'm sorry you had a bad day at work, but hey, look at that sunset, or hey, are you coming over for that barbecue, or yeah, sorry, Black Tree, we didn't come over for the barbecue. um, just pay attention. So focus on solutions, not on the problem itself. So where and how you focus your intention really does determine your emotional state. So if you zero on the problem that you're facing, you often create and prolong the negative emotions and stress. And when you shift your focus instead towards actions that can actually improve the circumstance, you create a sense of self efficacy that yields positive emotions and reduces stress. And so, same principle deals with comes goes into play with dealing with negative people. Instead of fixating on how stressful and difficult they are, and it's only going to intensify your suffering and make you feel worse, and it actually gives them power over you. Stop it. Don't allow it to happen. Move on. Instead, think about handling their behavior in a positive way. Maybe they just need a Snickers. I'm just saying. So, maybe it'll make you more effective by putting you in the driver's seat, and it'll greatly reduce the amount of stress that you are experiencing when you're interacting with them. I've done this with bosses in the past and coworkers. It actually works. Not necessarily Snickers, because I don't really share my chocolate. Just saying. But, yes, be in the driver's seat. Don't let them drive you crazy. Maintain a level of emotional detachment from other people's opinions of you. So basically, if you're allowing negative people to put the weight of their own inadequacies on your back, it's going to negatively impact your own personal health and happiness. So, do you value yourself and believe in yourself, just like we were talking about in the shadow work? Their opinions are not reflective of you, they're reflective of them. So people who manage their lives um, effectively are generally those who work internally. In other words, people who know that success and well-being comes within, that internal focus of control, and negative people generally work externally. In other words, they blame everybody else and outside events for everything that is going wrong in their life. They don't take ownership of any of those issues. So, when your sense of self satisfaction and self worth are derived from the opinions of others, you're not in control. You have no control over your own personal happiness and joy. So, when emotionally strong people feel good about something that they've done, they don't allow other people's shallow opinions or spiteful remarks take that away from them. So, you're never as good as everyone says you were when you win, and you're never as terrible or as bad as everyone might say when you lose. Just roll with it. It's okay. So, let go of the desire to change other people's negative tendencies. You cannot fix other people. It's just not something you can do. You can give advice, you can try to be as helpful as possible, but unless they choose to change their behavior, it's not ever going to change. Don't date that broken person because you're not going to fix them. That's something that people have been trying to do off and on ever since people started dating. You cannot fix a broken person, especially if they don't want it. Often they are so comfortable with that negativity and that thought process and that brokenness that you're never going to be able to get them out of it. It's just not going to happen. So if there's a specific behavior that someone you love has that you'd like to change over time, it just isn't going to change. But if you really need them to change for a substantial reason, be honest about it, talk to them about it, put your cards on the table so the person knows how you actually feel and the why of it, and come to the situation with a thought of love and help, and allowing them to make the decision whether or not they're going to actually change or not. Because like I said, you cannot change someone. For the most part, you can't do it. You shouldn't even try. You're wasting your energy, and you're just going to feel bitterness about that later. So, don't do it. because they're going to resist the change and they're going to stay the same or get worse. Seriously. Now, you don't